chosen you 12 as my apostles. There will come a time you will follow in my footsteps, and you will know what it actually means to give up your life.
Hi Dallas, it's so nice to talk to you. I have to start by asking you, why or what made you adapt such a classic story?
Well, I have seen so many Jesus movies and Jesus miniseries, and because I'm a believer. So I've watched all of them, and most of them did not engage me emotionally. I saw the stories from the Bible, and I love seeing stories from the Bible, but unlike most television shows or movies, I didn't get to know the people in the stories. So when you read the Bible is perfect. It does not need to be improved. But when you read the Bible, it goes from miracle to miracle and Jesus preaching to Jesus preaching. And so a lot of the movies and miniseries would go from miracle to miracle and Bible verse to Bible verse. The problem with that is it doesn't feel very human. Jesus is often speaking very formally, and the disciples are walking around and they feel like statues or stained glass windows. And the other problem with that is that if you are not a believer, maybe you watch a Jesus movie, but you don't believe Jesus is the Son of God, well, it doesn't feel like you can connect with it at all. And so our show shows the humanity of the people that follow Jesus and the humanity of Jesus. Yes, he was the Son of God, but he was also human. And he danced with his friends, and he laughed with his friends, and he brushed his teeth in the river. And all of those things, to me, were stories that really should be told. The cultural context of the Jewish people, the historical context of what that time was like. I think I love good television, and I thought that the greatest story ever told deserved to have a TV show that felt like a normal TV show, and so that anyone could watch, whether you believe or don't believe.
One of the first things that captured my attention was how the relationship between the disciples is built, and between each other and with Jesus. Can you talk a little about where does the inspiration comes from to writing the script?
Yeah, so when we write the script, we really want it to feel real, human, authentic. And part of that is showing what would it have been like for the disciples especially to follow Jesus, to follow the Messiah. They believed he was a leader that was going to overthrow the Roman oppressors. What were their lives like? We wanted to know what their lives were like before they met Jesus. And then when they meet Jesus, how do things change? And how do they react when things aren't perfect? Because I think a lot of times people think that if you become a Christian, you act as though everything is perfect, and that's not true. So we really love showing the humanity and the relationships of the people so that you as a viewer can identify with these people as people and not statues. So that when they encounter the stories from the Bible, that also feels real and human and authentic, and not just, here's a Bible story that we can't really relate to.
I think you already know this, but The Chosen was the fifth most watched TV show here in Brazil the past month. And knowing the first season was crowdfunded, did you ever expect it to become such a huge success worldwide?
I had no expectations. I just was focused on trying to make a good show. And when it started to grow around the world, I was blown away. I wasn't shocked because I think I know Jesus is a famous figure around the world, and God can do anything to make something successful. But it has been very heartwarming to be here in Brazil and to see the people here embrace the show, and especially that they get a chance to see it in their own language. So to see the show grow and to be translated into other languages, that's way bigger and way better than I am capable of doing myself. So that's the most heartwarming thing, is that I'm in the United States, I'm making my show, I'm sitting on my laptop and writing the scripts and hoping that people like it. And then I feel like I look up and I see people all over the world embracing it. And that's not the reason I do it. I'm doing it to try to please God, but I think there's no greater feeling than when someone from another country, even someone who maybe speaks a different language, is telling you that your show impacted their life. It's been awesome.
And talking about the actors, they all fit so perfectly in their roles. How was the casting process?
So when we were casting the show, we said we are not trying to just cast celebrities. We don't need famous people, and we also know we're not going to cast white people like me to play Jesus and the disciples, Jews in the first century in Israel. So we were just only going to try to find the best people for the role. It didn't matter if they were famous, but the best people for the role included people who looked like they could be authentic in the roles. And when the only thing you care about is are you right for the role, and you're not trying to find someone famous, it's amazing the people you can find. And yes, it felt like each person for each role, it felt like they were the only person who could play that. And some of that is, I think we made good decisions. Some of it, my wife is really smart. She's really good at casting. And I think some of it is just transcendent. It's just God puts people together and you can't explain it, but you just know it works perfectly. And it's been so fun to see the words that we write delivered by people who are so much better than I could do and are resonating and connecting with the viewer.
By the way, you were filming the fourth season this year. By now, you all are a pretty united group, right?
Yeah, we've been working together for 4 years now, and you work 12 hours a day. And season 4 took us 75 days to film, and season 3 took us 80 days to film. So you have to be very close. If we don't get along sometimes, it is very difficult. So we work very hard to have a good atmosphere on set. And so when you see on set the disciples and the actors working so well together, that's because they do really genuinely like each other. And we really try to have a environment on set that is kind and loving and fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and I think that really helps as well.
You talked about Jesus being human, and I was watching some YouTube videos from the official The Chosen channel, and there's one called Best Jesus Jokes. Yes. And I find it so interesting that that's it, like that's the difference. Jesus is a human person, and the show portrays it so well. How did you come with these ideas? Because Jesus, yes, he's the chosen one, but also he's funny, he gets sad, he gets angry.
I think that humor is one of the most important parts of The Chosen. The Chosen isn't a comedy, but there's lots of humor even during dramatic moments. And that has proven to be very important. I feel like it helps make the show feel more human. But I can't tell you how many times people have said that when Jesus says something funny, or even just showing Jesus laugh at someone else, that it just warms their heart so much. And it also just makes it feel more authentic, because in life we are funny, we are sad, we are angry. And to see all of that in a Bible show feels so different. It's very, very rare that I can think of any times during a Bible show or a Bible movie where I laughed. And we do that a lot in The Chosen. I think it also makes it more appealing to maybe people who don't necessarily believe that Jesus was the Son of God, but they want to see a good show. And humor has been a key part of that.
One thing that I don't remember seeing before is how women are portrayed.
Yes.
And as an important part of this whole journey. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So there's not a lot about women in the Gospels. And in history, we know that during that time, women weren't treated necessarily equal to men. However, the moments in the Gospels that show Jesus encountering a woman or dealing with a woman are very important and very powerful. It's very clear that Jesus honored and respected women even more than others. A woman is the first person that Jesus told he was the Messiah, which was the woman at the well. A woman was the first person Jesus appeared to after the resurrection. It was Mary Magdalene. There were women who supported Jesus' ministry. They financially supported the ministry. There were just so many moments in the Gospels that don't have a lot of time given to them, but are very important when it comes to women. And so we just thought it was very important and authentic to show that. And in the very first episode of The Chosen, first episode, season 1, episode 1, we are introduced to a woman who is demon-oppressed, demon-possessed, and we find out that she's Mary Magdalene. And that's something that is from the scriptures, but it's not given a whole lot of time. And we think it's just so fascinating to see how Jesus treated women, to see the role of women in Jesus' ministry, and to also see some of the difficulties that they faced. And yet they were still able to find strength in following Jesus. And so we just thought that was a really fascinating thing about the culture at that time.
And you said time, and time is the key word for this show, because what I find most relatable about it, it's how long takes for things to happen. Like Jesus didn't gather all his followers in 1 week, and other movies that I've watched, it feels like so fast. Yes. It goes so, Jesus one day, and the other everything happens. Yes. Can you talk about how the script is worked around the time?
That's the beauty of doing a TV show as opposed to a movie, is we're not trying to cover so many stories all at once. And a good television show allows the story to unfold over multiple episodes, sometimes over multiple seasons. When you take your time and you really develop the motivations of the characters and you really develop the context of what they were going through, by the time you get to that moment, that's a big, impactful moment, it means even more. And that's especially true of Bible stories. So for example, in season 1, the most famous verse in the Bible is John 3:16, and when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus. So we introduce you to Nicodemus and we show what his life was like. We don't get to John chapter 3, the story of Jesus talking to Nicodemus, until episode 7, which means we have all of that time to really build this character. So when that moment happens, it's really impactful and really emotional. And we do that with a lot of our characters, and I think it just makes for better storytelling.
And I've heard there's planning for 4 more seasons, so we can expect that?
Yes, so there's going to be 7 seasons of the show. We just finished filming season 4, and we know that in season 6, I've told people that season 6 is when we show the crucifixion. So we have that time to develop those relationships, develop who Jesus was, so that when that happens, it's even more painful and more sad and devastating, but also we know the ending. We know that Jesus comes back, and that makes it even more powerful and exciting.
To conclude this interview, can you tell us where can we watch The Chosen?
Yes. If you have not seen the first 2 seasons, you can find season 1 on Netflix. You can find it on the Chosen app. There's a place called Globo Play? Global Play, yes. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yes. And Universal...
Universal Channel.
Universal Channel, yes. That's where you can find season 1 there. So it's very easy to find. And on the Chosen app, it's free and very easy. So you don't even have to give your email address. You just look in the app store and you find, it's called The Chosen, or in Portuguese is what how do you pronounce it? Os Escolhidos?
Os Escolhidos.
Os Escolhidos, yes. But yes, you can watch it in Portuguese, free and easy.
I love the choice of giving people the show for free. Yes. I haven't seen that before, like such a huge success.